Well, yes, Susan, it is so wonderful to be broadcasting to your center. What a lovely facility, and as you know, you've been following us all summer. Yes, it was an amazing expedition, and there's a lot of backstories because at the time that I found the Titanic, I was not allowed to actually tell the whole story. And that's because I was actually conducting a military operation. I was a naval officer in naval intelligence. I served in the Navy for 30 years. So I saw an opportunity, and I said, well, why don't we use a search for the Titanic as a cover story to actually do our military operations? And they thought it was a great idea. I must say they were rather upset when I found the Titanic, ironically, because they felt it would draw a lot of attention to the secret missions. But it did. It drew a lot of attention to the Titanic. So in fact, when we left the Azores in August of 1975, instead of heading west towards the Titanic, east-west, we encountered the debris field. And we knew immediately to head north. And we followed that debris field. It got bigger and bigger until finally we went over. The signature target of the Titanic was the boiler. We had a picture of the boiler in our command center. And when we saw that, we knew this was the wreckage of the Titanic. And then a day or so later, we actually found the bow itself. So that was an amazing moment when we found it, September 1st, at 2 in the morning. And I remember naturally the reaction you had on the wall of the command center and said, she sinks in 20 minutes, because it was 1 in the morning and she sank at 1:20. And that innocent comment embarrassed us because we were celebrating. We shouldn't be celebrating. We were above an underwater grave. And so the mood changed dramatically inside the command center. And for the final 4 days, a very somber mapping and investigation of the ship. So it went from amazing joy to sadness in just a fraction of a second. And then the rest is history after that.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Anyone else cares in the back of the neck standing? So, Dr. Ballard, we have quite a few questions here. We have a substantial audience live, and we've also been taking some questions through social media. So, the top question of the day so far seems to be, do you think the wreck will eventually disappear? And if yes, in approximately how many years?
Well, that's a good question. It depends upon a lot of factors. Number one, it's presently in a world of eternal darkness. Sunlight can commonly cause degradation of human history, so that's not an issue. It's in freezing cold water, so it's like it's in deep freeze. And also it's under great pressure. And it's an area of very slow sedimentation rate, so it's not going to be buried by sediments. So it should last for a long, long time, particularly since the bow went into the bottom very deep. Because the bow went into the bottom, it's now being held together by the bottom. And the bottom sediments are deep sea muds that are anoxic, so there's no oxygen. So we were fouling paint, and the anti-fouling paint was still working. There was no degradation of the hull there. There were no rust signals. It was the hull with this fresh, not fresh, but the paint was still working. Now, naturally, when they built the Titanic, they didn't think to paint the whole ship with anti-fouling paint, because they never expected it to sink. But you can actually do conservation and preservation to extend its life. We have super tankers now where you never, once you launch them, you can never put them back in a dry dock. And they have the ability to do that if you have the will to do it.
That would be fantastically interesting experiments. So we have another question here from Charlene Martin, who is from County Clare in Ireland. And Charlene would like to know that as an undersea explorer, what has been the most interesting item you have found and where are you allowed to keep it?
Well, that's a fascinating question because that implies human history as opposed to natural history. So I'm going to give you two answers. I'm going to give you the answer, what's the most impressive thing I've ever found under the ocean and discovered. Remember the Titanic was not a discovery. We knew it existed. The Bismarck, we knew it existed. All the shipwrecks of the contemporary history, we knew they existed. But I have found some shipwrecks we didn't know existed. And one of the most fascinating ones was in the Black Sea. And there you have no oxygen. There you don't have wood pores to eat the wooden members. When I first found ancient shipwrecks in the Mediterranean, only the inedible parts of the ship, the piles of cargo and amphora, were still there. The hull itself had been eaten by wood pores. But in the Black Sea, there's no oxygen, there's no wood pores. The ships are perfectly preserved. And I would say there were two ships, one off Skirky, the coast of the city of Skirky, not Skirky, the city of Sinope, which is on central Turkey, on the northern coast of Turkey, the southern coast of the Black Sea. We found a ship from the Byzantine period, perfectly preserved, mast up, still had rigging on the sail, on the mast. But that was eclipsed a few years later off of Ereğli, which is a ship, a city closer to the Bosphorus, where we found a classical shipwreck from 500 BC that still had human remains. That was really a lost chapter of human history. From that human remains, you can get the DNA. So that was a pretty historical discovery. But for discoveries in general, the greatest discovery of all was our 1977 discovery of hydrothermal vents and the exotic life forms. And we're going to be diving on those tomorrow over the next several weeks. So come back to the Exploration Center in Belfast over the next week, and you're going to see some amazing live exploration of the hydrothermal vents off of Juan de Fuca Ridge, black smokers and tube worms. So don't miss coming back to Titanic Belfast over the next week, because that's going to be quite a series of expeditions.
That is going to be really, really interesting. But would you mind telling our audience just why hydrothermal vents are so important and so exciting?
Well, the reason is when I went to school and did my biology class, I was told that all life on our planet was due to the sun. That was the driving engine of life on planet Earth. That photons from the sun traveling at the speed of light come into our atmosphere, and but yet we found in total darkness, in absence of any sunlight, where no plants exist, an amazing ecosystem driven not off the energy of the sun, but driven off the energy of the earth itself through the volcanoes that are beneath the sea. There are more active volcanoes beneath the sea than all the museums. I mean, all the volcanoes on anywhere on land. So massive. And here we're showing recently, we went back to that discovery. And we just took this footage. Your vents are coming out. When we first found these in 1977, we went up and stuck a probe in it, and it melted the probe. It was 350 degrees centigrade, hot enough to melt lead in our submarine, and that black smoke isn't smoke. It's microcrystals of copper, lead, silver, zinc, and gold. We're finding vast mineral deposits. We will be visiting black smokers in the next few days live, so make sure you watch. NautilusLive.org, and then come to Titanic Belfast and see it on a big screen.
Absolutely, and a number of our guests who have said it's fantastic that they can actually watch it at home. It's been really high this year. So another question we received by Twitter earlier. There have been a number of high-profile crashes and disappearances in recent years. Would you be tempted to lead an expedition to find any of these wrecks?
Well, we've done missions like that, and we offered to help with the Malaysian Airlines, but they turned down our offer. But we have recently, a few years ago, when Syria shot down a Turkish Phantom 5 jet, and Turkey didn't have the technology. It was in 5,000 feet of water off the coast of Syria. The Syrian government let us come in and find that airplane and actually recover the black box, pull out all their instrumentation, but also to recover the pilot and co-pilot. So we know how to do that. We've done it, but we were not allowed to participate in the expeditions off in the Indian Ocean.
Okay, that's really interesting. Another viewer viewer, question from Twitter, I beg your pardon. Is there anything else that you would like to achieve in your career?
Oh, but this rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. That's why I have the Nautilus. We've been at sea for 6 months. I just left her in Victoria. She's off Victoria right now. If you go to our website, you'll see us diving. Hopefully the visibility will be cleaning up when we head further offshore. I don't know what's out there. We have better maps of Mars than our own planet. And if people say, what's your next discovery going to be? And I say, I don't think you understand. I don't know. If I did, I wouldn't be a discovery. So we're going where no one has gone before on planet Earth. We've teamed up with Titanic Belfast. They're our partner in exploration. And they bring you my expeditions. And they've been bringing them for 6 months. We're going to stand down in about a week in Victoria. We're tired. And then we'll be at it again. We'll be probably back out in the spring. And then we have another full summer of explorations in the Pacific Ocean where we're going to be for quite some time. So stay tuned. You never know.
It's going to be another exciting season. It's hard to believe that this will be our 4th season with you next year. It's been fantastic. So one of our audience has asked, it's Ingrid from England, she would like to know, you said being a scientist means that you should not be emotional. Do you still feel emotional 30 years on?
Well, I didn't say you don't have to be emotional, you just have to control it. I think that when you're doing projects like this, there's always two people inside of you. There's the professional that acts like a professional, but there's always the kid inside of you too. And so I have both of them operating simultaneously, but I need to know when I got a job to do, the professional needs to, people's lives are at risk in our business. So you can't let emotions get the better hand of you. Because what we do is dangerous, and we want to bring everyone home. But we also can, when we're off watch, get excited. But when we're on watch, we're professional.
Absolutely. Richard from the UK is also in our audience. He says that Titanic is a very sad, tragic loss of life. And there have been many losses of life over the centuries. Why do we feel so different about Titanic?
Oh, I don't. I think it's symbolic of everyone else. I don't think it's in place of everyone else. I mean, think of Lusitania, for example. Very similar to the situation of the Titanic, similar loss of life, luxury liner. There was even horrible. It was sunk by a U-boat. It wasn't by an act of God. It was sunk by a U-boat. And we don't get excited about the Lusitania. We're in the middle of World War I. There were bodies everywhere. They didn't know when the bodies washed ashore which ship it came from. The Titanic was this isolated incident in a very quiet time of human history during the Edwardian era before World War I. And it was the whole theater that was played out. The Lusitania sank like a stone pretty quick. Same with the Britannic. But the Titanic lingered. And it was this morality play that was played out on its decks. It's so beautifully documented at Titanic Belfast. There were heroes, there were villains. It was more about human behavior than about a ship. And so the fact that it took so long for that human behavior to play itself out is, I think, why we're fascinated as much in the human behavior as the fact that a ship hit an iceberg exactly.
Okay. John from the UK would like to know what the main scientific discovery or finding.
Canadian, it's called the Oceans Network Canada, based in Victoria, at the University of Victoria, world, and I hope you'll have them tune in and then study a little harder to go.
Well, I can definitely vouch for you there, because the number of young men and women who have come through here and been totally inspired by Nautilus Live, which you guys can all go downstairs and watch after this interaction is running downstairs in the Ocean Exploration Centre, and you can send your questions to the Science Communication Fellow who's in the control room there.
Download the video we collected. All the specimens were taken ashore from the excavation, working with Texas State, and also working with Texas A&M. So those are now being analyzed by maritime historians. But this was the wreck that we were excavating. And there were 2 ships nearby that were as prizes that we also mapped as well. That apparently all 3 of them sank in a hurricane. It's very common in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, as far as I remember from that expedition last year, they actually recovered a glass containing ginger. And when they got it back
Yes,
on
that's
board,
to help
it still
counter.
smelled.
Yeah, that's to help counter seasickness.
Okay, so Gareth from the BE crew would like to know what the biggest disaster is you've been involved in at sea. For example, losing an ROV.
Well, I certainly did that when we were doing the Jason project, and I lost my remotely operated vehicle, Jason, in the Mediterranean. That was a bad day at the office, but we got it back. But yeah, that was a pretty bad day. And then the real bad one, when we were doing a project off the Galapagos Islands, and we had $6 million worth of technology on a barge, and the barge sank in 9,000 feet of water. And that's waiting for a future explorer to find. And it had Jason Jr. that went inside Titanic. So that vehicle is lost, but it's made out of titanium and syntactic, so it will be preserved for thousands and thousands of years. So I want some future explorer to go find Jason Jr. and bring him home. There were 2 of them.
Super. Phil from Northern Ireland would like to know if Titanic is your number 1 shipwreck, what would be your number 2?
Well, it would be the ancient shipwrecks, because they taught us so much that we didn't know. It would be the shipwrecks that we've discovered in the Black Sea as well as in the Aegean. We found over 50 ancient shipwrecks, and certainly some of the artifacts as well in the eastern Mediterranean. All in those, by the way, all in this TOS.org March supplements. All that is in there, but we have found more ancient shipwrecks in the deep sea than any other organization on the planet, and it's taught us a lot. And one of my ex-graduate students who now is for the trust is Dr. Michael Brennan is doing a book on it. So a book will be coming out. It'll be pretty cool. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, me too, definitely. Mike's pretty good at the writing.
He is.
I think that's a compliment.
Well, yeah, the real captain, had a sort of a dark side to him. I hope I don't have that dark side that he had.
Definitely not. A question from Vanessa from England is, what is the most moving sight you have come across in the Titanic debris field?
Oh, no doubt about it, the shoes. I mean, that stopped me in my tracks when I came across the pairs of shoes. Because that was the signature, that's the tombstone of humans in the deep sea, because the animals will eat the flesh quickly. That goes fast. And then, because we're so deep, it's below what's called the calcium carbonate compensation depth, which is a fancy term for saying bones dissolve. Because the waters of the deep sea is undersaturated in calcium carbonate. So bones all disappear. About 7 years, they're gone. Humans' flesh disappears in days. Bones in about 7 years. So all that's left is what they don't eat or what doesn't dissolve, and that's the shoes. Because they're treated with tannic acid. They're leather. No one eats leather. So all around the wreckage of the Titanic are pairs of shoes, and the most moving one was a pair of mother's shoes next to her daughter's shoes with a mirror and comb. That took me out. That was powerful.
That's one of the most moving images, and it's one that we actually have on the interactives here on the last floor as well. So anyone who's interested can have a little look at the interaction.
And look, you'll see a lot in that picture.
It is. It's a tearjerker. So Jason from Belfast would like to know how you pass the time on a 6-month expedition.
Oh, well, I don't go out for 6 months to begin with. I go out I'm given an allowance by my wife of 5 weeks, but if I take my children, which I do, Emily Rose with a button nose, who loves Ireland and loves Northern Ireland. By the way, Susan, she asked for her graduation gift when she graduates this coming June to come and see you. So she's coming.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing her. And I believe
so
today or
get
yesterday
ready
was
for
her first
Emily
day of summer
Rose.
school.
Well, she was out with me for a month, and she wants to go 2 months, but she wants to go to Ireland first, and
That's a
Northern
good
Ireland.
call.
So she's on her way. But anyway, generally, you have to understand with today's technology, the Nautilus actually thinks it's in this building that I'm in. All the phones are university phones. It has hi-fi, it has a jacuzzi, it's got a nice wine cellar, it's got a great place. We don't do that when we're on watch. I love going out to get away from all the stuff on land, and but yet I can do everything that I want to do. I get a lot more done at sea because I can sit down and spend the whole day working, and then I have in my cabin just the same thing you guys have of the quad display. So if something happens, I'm out of there and I can run up to the command center and get in the fray. But if it's nothing's happening, I can just listen and don't feel sorry for me. I mean, let's put it that way.
And the Airspace Centre is very, very impressive. They have screens not much smaller than this, but they have them one stacked on top of the other.
Yeah, and we have 3 ships coming in now. The Endeavour, the ship here at the university, is also leaving. I think it's going to leave today or tomorrow, and look at a German U-boat. So you might want to check that one out during the course of the time that they're at sea as well. So there's a lot of things going on in the Interspace Center, and more ships are hooking in.
Excellent, excellent. We look forward to it. So Anastasia from Northern Ireland / USA, which may be a little confused, she would like to know what the most notable upgrades or improvements have been made to submersibles since Alvin up until today.
Being away from using submersibles, I think the big push now is to get away from submersibles because they're primitive by comparison to what we can do right now. First place, you spend your whole time going up and down during the day. To go, and I've done it, I did it for 20 years, so it isn't that I haven't done it. But when I went down to 20,000 feet, for example, 6,000 meters in the Trieste, in the Cayman Trough, it was 6 hours to get to work in the morning, and I spent my whole day going up and down, minutes on the bottom. What's wonderful about the ROVs is 24/7. We don't come up. And everyone can participate. So I say the big move is not so much in improvements to the submarine. You can't do much about the coefficient of drag. That's a law of nature that you can only sink so fast and rise so fast. So the big push has been mostly in remotely operated vehicles, and now into what are called autonomous vehicles, or AUVs or UUVs. And these are the underwater drones and robots that fly independently and then come and tell you what they found. So the big push is we're looking at adding an AUV, UUV to our repertoire of tools to augment what we do with the Hercules and Argus. And those UUVs and AUVs can then come and plug in to our vehicles down below, send all their data, get new power, and take off. So they don't have to come up either. So.
Lifetime for so many robotics engineers. A question has come in now from Chelsea on Twitter. She said, were you involved in the James Cameron film?
I was. Jim's a good friend. In fact, shortly after we found Titanic, he was one of the first people to visit me. And that's what gave him, and now that we found it, that's what gave him the idea to make the movie. And he wanted to know how I got inside, because he wanted to go inside as well. And Jim would call me. Remember, the movie started with the Titanic already found. So it wasn't that the movie had anything to do with finding the Titanic. That was a given when the movie began. And so he was more interested in and how to, what I discovered about it. And no, we're very good friends to this day. He's got 2 more movies he's working on right now, and the new one, the new Avatar's underwater, so I can't wait to see that one, I gotta tell you.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. And another question that's come in from Twitter is, how often do searches for wrecks produce nothing?
How often does our exploration produce nothing? It never produces nothing. It tells us what's there, and if nothing's there, nothing's there. I mean, we're going where we've never been. So we don't find nothing awful. It's never nothing. There's always something there. And we learn. We go to where we think there's nothing, we find something. I mean, it's common for us to go, you can't go where you think everything is, because then you're just proving that what you think is there. You want to go where you think there's nothing and there's something. And that has happened when we were diving off of Grenada, where we thought there was going to be just a landslide with a bunch of mud and boring, and we found a whole new ecosystem driven off of methane being squeezed out by the atom. No one knew that. If we'd never gone to what we thought was boring, we would have never made that discovery. So it's fine in research to go down a dead end, because then that tells you a lot.
It's a bit like when you're doing postgraduate research, and just because it doesn't work doesn't mean your results are useless. It just means it doesn't work. Look at it a different way.
When I went after the Bismarck, I didn't find it, and I knew where it wasn't. That was a lot. Got it. Certainly help me the next time.
Excellent. And I know you're very pushed for time this afternoon because you have another appointment. So
I am. There's a few other people that are interested in today.
I would say there are, but we really appreciate
The
it.
phone is ringing off the wall.
Well, we're going to let you get on, and we're going to say thank you very, very much for joining us this afternoon. Apologies for the slight technical difficulties earlier, but we got there in the end, and we really appreciated you joining us today, Dr. Ballard. Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to give Dr. Ballard a round of applause?
See you next time.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.